Real estate is a relationship business. The quality of them will determine how fast you grow or whether they hold you back.
And it all starts with a relationship you have with yourself. In today's episode, we are interviewing Naketa Ren Thigpen. She's a relationship expert that will teach us who do we need to keep and who do we need to evict from our lives to create more space to what is really, really most important to you.
All right, InvestHER Plus is officially live, and it's everything you've been waiting for.
We're talking AI power networking to connect you with other investors who are serious about building their portfolio, not just dreaming about it.
You'll get access to Market Master Her, our step-by-step ebook that will help you master any market, and an on-demand real estate fundamentals course that will help you build your confidence. Add nationwide chapter access, exclusive discounts worth over $6,000, and a 21-day meditation guide because, hey, balance is key.
This isn't just another networking platform. This is a one-stop shop for you to make deeper connections and build wealth. Start investing in yourself. Click the link below and join InvestHER Plus today.
Welcome to the InvestHER Podcast. I'm Liz Fairclough.
And I am your co-host, Andressa Gadelli. Naketa, as we grow our business, the quality of our relationships affect directly our success. Once I heard Michelle Obama saying that when she became First Lady, not everybody from her core relationships was invited to the second phase of her life. And she was totally okay with that. So if we pause a little bit and we take an inventory, how can the women listening determine if certain relationships are going to be invited to the next phase?
That is such a beautiful and powerfully under-asked question on so many levels. Partially, I think, because many of us as women don't want to ask that question to ourselves, right? There's survivor's remorse and guilt that comes with how dare you possibly leave someone who was your cry buddy when a date didn't go well, or when you were dealing with something significant like the loss of a parent or a new stage of life where now you're moving into caregiving and that was your person or your people that you partied with, but now you have expanded into a different, I don't even want to say chapter of yourself, but you're in a different story, a whole new series of your life that doesn't necessarily have to have all the characters that played in the previous versions of those series and chapters, because now you're making room to something we were talking about in the green room before we got started recording. You want to make space. You want to create that space for that new version of yourself to breathe life into her, assuming that you still call that version of yourself a her. So you could invest her, pun intended, in all the ways. One of the things that I do with a lot of my clients is help them to visualize, because many of us ambitious, genius, brilliant humans need something tangible to pull on. So one of the things we do is we look at our relationships as an estate. So picture, for some of your listeners, estate might not be the appropriate word. It might be like a big house or big mansion. And when you have a big house, that's not a smaller row home. For all of the real estate folks that's listening, I know you know what I mean. You typically have drive up a little bit of a parking lot, 3-4 cars, doesn't matter, might hold 50 cars, stairs, entryway, atrium of some sort. And then we get into the more intimate spaces of our heart, of our estate, the living room, the dining room, the breakfast nook. And then the heart of most homes, regardless of size, is the kitchen. The kitchen is the most intimate space in your home and in your heart. You have to be very careful that parking lot people don't come into your kitchen and sit at your table. So the visual that I help all of our clients and our team and everyone else that we talk to about relationships is looking at how many people are in places where they don't belong, where they haven't earned. It could have been a moment of vulnerability where you were like, oh, this person was there for me. They listened to me. Maybe that was a living room conversation, right?
Yeah.
But when we get into the kitchen, that is your most emotionally naked version of you. That is for the people, maybe for your partner, if you have a forever lover and a soul's half, that should be at that table, if you would qualify them as such. Maybe there's, if for those who are still using terms like bestie, like real bestie, not I met you at InvestHER Con and I was so excited to meet you, so now we're besties for life. Like not that kind of superficial language that we use when we just feel good about being in someone's presence, but someone that if I fell in the shower and I'm fully naked, cellulite showing and everything, who is that person that I'm going to call and say, please come get me off the floor? I don't look my best. There's no makeup. I am completely vulnerable. Who are those people? Those are your kitchen table people. And we can kind of back into the levels of intimacy that people can earn their way to the table. You still should only have a very small group of people because that is the most intimate space you can be. As someone said, it feels akin to who you let rummage through your panty drawer. Hopefully that's not anyone, right? Like hopefully that's very specific people that you trust with whatever it is that they find in those spaces in your life, in your heart, in your business. Parking lot people are good people. They are good people that maybe you met 5 years ago or 5 seconds ago, but they don't earn space into your home. They haven't shown that you can trust them with that level of information, that version of you. You'll go for coffee, tea, you'll kick back, you'll hang out with them, you'll meet up with them when you're traveling in their city, but they're not necessarily people that when you have an intimate party for your kid or something's going on where you want to raise a fundraiser or you want to invest in a home, they probably aren't the people that you're going to call and say, hey, do you want to go into a contractual situation with me because you've trusted them to that point? You have to get into the estate, get into the home of my heart in order for me to feel like we're in reciprocity. And it's not 20 years ago, you told me your whole life, but the last 2 years, I don't know what's going on with you. That is not reciprocity. That is history. And that is a good person from your past, potentially, but not necessarily someone who needs to know all of the intimate details of your life, of your business, of your relationships. So part of it is looking at how you can reposition people. Not that they're bad people, not that they have to be hey, you're my living room friend, you're my breakfast nook friend, but just for yourself knowing that these people have not only earned a space in the deeper parts of my home and my heart, but I've earned a space in theirs. Because if somebody's sitting at your kitchen table and you're not sitting at theirs, you better damn well believe they are sharing your information with who's ever at their table.
Love that, Naketa. So when we really look at, I love the analogy of the house too, because you were talking to real estate investors. When we're looking at the house and we're saying, okay, how do we really reposition? And you said that word. Let's dissect that a little further because it's not just like poof, I'm going to reposition and you're out, you're in. It's a little bit of a process and it's a hard process for many because some of these people have been with you since you've been, a young child. So walk us through, tell us a little more about the repositioning process, if you will, for those listening.
Yeah. And I want to differentiate between repositioning and evicting, right? Like for the people that you might need to evict, they're typically holding some level of toxicity and they're draining you. So I'm just going to set that aside for a moment to answer your question directly about normal repositioning of good people in your life that are not bad. They're just not good to be with you in this next story, right? Like they're just not the people that you want to ride with you, so to speak. I'm trying to be mindful of my vernacular and some of the streetcar references that I have with letting people off at the stop sign. But anyway, a lot of the mindset that's going into that is you holding what's true for you, which for me is what balance is, like work-life balance, whatever you want to call it. It's what is the truth of what you really want for yourself in this world, whether it's the next 5 years, 20 or whatever. What do you really want? And creating some boundaries around yourself to achieve that truth as your reality. So if I say, this next part of where I'm going is I really need to be in a space where I can get up really early in the morning, which means I have to shift my bedtime routines because maybe the new part of my truth is taking my health more seriously, which is something that I know you, Andressa, were talking about a few sessions back in one of the episodes when you guys were talking roughly about agendas, right? And being really clear and really honest about your, where you stand in those conversations you're having. I can't remember the name of the episode. You guys did it here on this show, but it was a few sessions back. And you used an example of your health and what version of yourself do you see? The short hair 80-year-old versus the long hair 80-year-old, like all those kind of little examples that you guys gave. And if that is my truth, I need to take my health more seriously because of whatever my life looks like. The only place to put that healthy new habit is at the top of the morning, which means I can't hang out with my friends that call me to let's go out for a glass of wine at 8:00 at night because 8:00 is my new bedtime, right? 8:00 is my new place. So just kind of looking at first and foremost, what is the truth of where you're going? And you can start with just those people who are good people that you just might need to give yourself a little bit more spaciousness from. Again, not bad people, not bad humans, but for where you're going right now, they will distract you. They'll pull you away from your mission. And you can apply that to work or to play or to your new lover. Maybe all your friends are single and now you're in a very deep relationship and just kind of looking at what that is. But you start there by giving yourself that permission to hold you as the first priority, which is hard. And I would be a liar to say it doesn't come with guilt and it doesn't come with some version of shame. It does. But the first thing you can do is be honest with yourself.
So for the women that are listening, they're asking like, how do I do that? Do I call this person? Do I take this person for dinner? And
do I have do I write a letter first to them and say we're done?
An email. Ask ChatGPT, hey, please
end this relationship. But nicely.
Let them know that they're not coming. Do I send a gift and say it was great? I think that's Or you just do what I think a lot of people are questioning is like, I'm just going to disappear. And I'm just gonna, right? And not deal with it. So, and we want everybody to have grace with themselves and with the other person and have a graceful transition. So can you give us a couple of options of how can we, we go
gracefully reposition?
Yeah. Gracefully reposition. Again, not the toxic people, because that is an eviction notice of a different type, right? Like you might actually need to say your piece and then end it and never respond to any clarifying message with them because you know that they're coming specifically to warp you, to gaslight you, to do different things. So putting those aside, just the good people that we're repositioning, it always starts with your access. So I do differentiate between being available and being accessible. And I'm sure you guys have this all the time between Strive members, your real estate clients, even maybe siblings that you have in your life. I am available to you because I love you. I really meant what I said when I said call anytime if you ever need to discuss, whatever the lingo is. However, I am not easily accessible because I have to hold my energy for the people that are at my kitchen table, or in my case.
I like that. You're saying availability versus access.
Absolutely. It's a huge difference.
All right. So hold on, Elizabeth. What? I wanted that piece.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
For the clip. So, Naketa, would you please restate, because I really think that's a great clip.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I really like. I want to say, I love that.
I'm going to stick my tongue out.
I'm sorry. If you could restate that, because I think that is like remarkable.
It's a huge difference between being available and accessible. And for those in your life that you really want to know they have full access to you from your kitchen table, you do want to be accessible. I'm answering your 3 a.m. phone call. I'm listening for it in my spirit. But for those that you are saying, no, you're somewhere between the dining room, the living room, and maybe beyond, you show them based on how easily they can access you. So there is a difference between being available and being accessible. Your accessibility should be protected for the ones that you want to be able to have that up close, almost 24/7, if you will, access to you.
So for the women that are listening, and I hear a lot, right? It's like, I don't have enough time. And now, if I connect the dots based on what you're saying, it will be clear. And I encourage all of you listening to kind of like look and do an inventory on that. You're probably giving access and being to many people that are in the parking lot, not, or maybe on the sidewalk.
Or even, you have an open house 24 hours a day.
You have an open house.
You have an open house 24 hours a day, right? To everybody. And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Huge problem.
So what will cost? So for the women that are saying, yes, but she doesn't bother or he doesn't bother me so much. It's okay. It's okay. I've dealt my entire life, mine as well, the next 50 years, do the same. What does it cost? What is at stake to have somebody, not an eviction type of situation, but somebody that is really there in the kitchen that should be in the parking lot?
Oh, absolutely. I get this question a lot from clients. So my first question back to them is, do you want a life that's just okay? And we can full stop right there, because they will say, oh, it's not that bad. It's okay. Is okay what you want for your life? Is that what you see for yourself? Is just okay? And then for the other side of the, oh, well, it's really not that much. When you look at a little bit of, I'll make up something that's a household chemical that we all use most of the time for something.
Bleach.
Exactly. I was literally,
I love
right?
bleach, by the way.
Right. It's helpful. It has its place. But if you use a little bit, it's when you're cleaning, it's great. If you use too much, you can barely breathe. It's literally sucking out the oxygen. If you use too much, well, now you're poisoning yourself and everyone around you. So something that is good in a small dose can absolutely become dangerous and siphon the oxygen that you need to breathe, let alone to be able to be here in right mind, clarity, creativity, and all the things to do the wondrous things that you're doing in the world. But you also might not only poison yourself, but the other people around you that you love, if you think about it from that. So having one person, 5 people, 20 people, open house style, all have little doses of bleach that they're adding to your environment. After a while, it adds up to poison. And guess who suffers first? You suffer first. You get burnt out. You get overwhelmed. You end up on a bathroom floor with your eyes pouring out of your head, exhausted and frustrated and trying to figure out how you can get yourself out of this jam. And then you end up quitting something that is part of your purpose work, which that isn't a judgment. It's just a statement of fact. It happens to all of us when we give out too many doses.
Yeah. And it's so related to the women that are in our community, right? Because these are women who have put a stake in the ground saying, I want financial freedom. I want to expand my family's wealth and by buying property and taking that next step. Yet this whole idea of repositioning needs to happen, because it's not just about letting people go and kind of pruning. It's about, there's open spaces at that kitchen table to bring you to that next level. And we become who we surround ourselves. We all would agree to that. And we can't do that if we're surrounding ourselves with the same people on the same level. We're not going to create the wealth we want. I want to go back to evicting, because I think that's something we all understand. Been through my share of evictions. Andressa hasn't probably had as many. I probably beat you on that eviction.
I haven't.
I know, you're just amazing. So I have, and it is not an easy process. It's not a fun process for anyone, not for the people you're evicting, nor for the landlord. But let's talk about that. What is the criteria of this person, if you will, that you're going to evict? And then what's the process? Because they're both really pieces that need to get worked out to move through this.
Yeah, no, great kind of layered question. So one of them is something that I will deal with, you'll never deal with, right? Like everybody has a different tolerance level of what they feel is appropriate, inappropriate, or toxic. A lot of that is coming from our baseline of how we were introduced to relationships, which your first relationships is usually out of the womb of the vagina that you came out of, right? Like, or the belly, like however you came into this world, whether it is with the biological person who you were nurtured by, or by the guardians who might have supported you if your biological humans couldn't do that for you. But that is the basis for your relationships. So we can get into attachments. If you had humans that were your guardians that didn't make you feel like you could really rely on them, you create insecure attachments. It's not your fault. It's what's imprinted on you based on how you were grown, especially those first 9 years of life. And as an adult, 30, 40, 50, and 80, we're looking through the lens of those early scripts of how we felt love, how we did or did not feel safe, and what qualifies as toxic. Because again, I could have come from a home where it was normal to see someone slammed into a wall every day. That's a normal thing, where someone else might freak out because their parent used a curse word around them, and that's just not their baseline experience. So you push forward into your adult relationships, personally or professionally, we may tolerate different things as our normal. So I have a saying that I say to everyone in so many different situations, which is normal is not necessary. Just because it was normal for us to experience a certain way of life doesn't mean it's the necessary way for us to go and grow and invest in ourselves. Most women don't know anything about investing in themselves. They will spend $25,000 on a gift for a friend, but you ask them to pay $500 for a membership for themselves on a weekly or monthly basis, and they're coming up with all the justified excuses of how dare I can't do that. I have to, keep my money for other people in case someone needs to ping me as an ATM, right? And they will do it with open eyes and a very serious face. So a lot of it is first looking at what has been normal for you that actually doesn't feel like it's fulfilling you, that it's really, even if you don't feel like it's taking from you, because that's a different mindset, a different level of work. But you know what? This relationship isn't giving to me. Every time I answer the phone from this cousin or this friend from college, all they do is vomit all over me, all of their problems. And even if they say, hey girl, how you doing? They're really not listening for my answer because they jump right in with their stuff. So just kind of looking at what you've defined as normal is the first step in that, and seeing if it really is necessary for you to continue in your future. The second part of your question there is, okay, I realize this isn't normal for me. Again, these are not bad people yet. The toxic is coming, but these are not bad people. Just showing your access is different is really helpful to your question, Andressa, earlier. Is, you know what? If I used to reply to your text 10 seconds after I got it, well, I might wait an hour now, just on purpose. Not that I'm staring at the phone for an hour, but let me go do whatever I was supposed to be doing and then come back to it. You just kind of extend the access and the training that you've done with your friendships and your lovers of how quickly you will be available to them in those moments. For toxic people, assuming that it's not a safety issue, because the psychotherapist and trauma specialist in me can't not address that. If it is a physical, emotionally, verbally abusive safety issue, 1000% ghost. End it as soon as you feel strong enough to stop answering and stop allowing access. Stop it. We don't have to have a closure conversation. If you are in danger, leave. Period. As soon as you feel strong enough. And I'm saying that on purpose because I'm trying to remove the judgment of shame for anyone that's kind of in a cycle for that moment. Assuming that it's not a dangerous situation and it's not a safety issue, but they are toxic, they're draining. You see their number come up on the phone or your calendar invite, and you're like, oh, I need to change all of my invites to break the links. Why? I need to get my phone number changed. Like, I'm getting all the yucky, and I don't have a yummy feeling when I see, like, Liz came up on my phone. Ooh, yum. I can't wait to talk to her. Liz came up on my phone, and I'm like, oh, if I'm doing that in my spirit and my energy, you need to reassess that relationship. Why are you doing that? Is it because Liz is challenging me to my greatness? Because that might be one reason why I get that. And it's not about being toxic. It's because I have someone who's holding a mirror to me and I ask them to do it and they're doing it and now I don't like what I see. Or is it because she's holding a mirror to herself and then projecting all of her insecurities on me and trying to make me feel smaller because he, she, they feels bigger when they do that? If I know in my spirit that every time I try to give a good idea or share something, she's looking for a way to quote unquote constructively criticize, but it's feeling very much like nitpicking, like digging, like poking, I have to look at, why am I in this relationship with this person? And many times it's because it's familiar. They remind us of someone earlier in our life that did the same thing. And that was our version of safety because we made it normal. And we have to look at us attracting more of those people.
Oof. All right. All of that, it requires so much awareness, right? And that's why I took a deep breath, because you kind of like, okay, let me be present to what's going on. Although I did not evict anybody from my real estate business so far, I have evicted several people from my life. And I have this thing, Liz knows, I have this thing that I don't know the person. I don't have anything against that person. However, that person's presence, the energy, to me, is off, and I don't know why is off. But I know it's off because I start yawning. And when I saw Liz, she was laughing because she knows. I start yawning to the point that I'm like, I really need to go put my foot on the grass, take some sunlight and air, because something is happening here and I need to let this energy go. And when I was reading your bio and you were talking about the releasing the energy vampires, I just want to go there because I don't know if I'm doing it right or not, but is this just my perception? Is this a real thing? Or dissect for me, please.
Yeah. So in addition to being a balanced relationship advisor, I'm a metaphysician. So those things are very real. I'm biased, of course, as a student of metaphysics. Those things are very, very serious and very real. Your nervous system is responding for you. Even if you're not feeling bold enough to say, like, get away from me, girl, right? Like, even if you don't want to necessarily, or maybe it's just not appropriate to say that in that moment, but your nervous system is so powerful that it's like, Andressa, oh, you don't want to listen? You're going to listen right now, because now you're not going to be able to stop yawning and you're going to feel awkward about it. It's literally your body saying, remove. That's your version of flight, if you will. And in some ways, depending on how aggressive it's happening, it could be your version of fight, right? Like, I'm fighting through this energy that's coming through, but I'm also still going to, like you said, go touch some grass, which always sounds like a joke to me, like, go out, touch some grass, but go touch some grass and really reground yourself, because energetically, your body is craving stability of a new foundation in a safe space. You are not making it up. It is very real. And that is someone who may not be a horrible human. They may not be evil, but they absolutely should not be in your ecosystem. Not until they do some of their own energy clearing and kind of get reset and recalibrated themselves.
What if walking on grass isn't something that speaks to you? Is it just listening to your body to say, okay, how do I release these energy vampires? You know, maybe not. I don't know if I
Can I share what my mom does with me when that happens?
Sure.
She's like, bathroom, you're going to go take a shower. I'm going to bring salt, like the salt that we use for barbecue in Brazil. And we're going to give you a bath with salt. And that is a non-negotiable. And we've been doing this our entire lives in Brazil. That's what my mom does. Sorry, Liz.
I love that. And now I need some attention. So for me, because this is about me now.
Yeah, look at you.
I love it.
Of course. But for others that are, you know, they're giving themselves to a person, a situation, and then they leave that with that awareness of, okay, something's off here. How do they start exploring how to release this energy so that they can move through it in a more kind of peaceful, effective way than versus carrying it to the next conversation, carrying it to the interactions they have with their kids, which happens all the time?
Yes, it does. To your point, because I hear your higher level question of what if some of those things don't work, because everything is different for everyone. The first thing you have to do is learn to listen to your body. Your body, your truth. I call it your inner brilliance. Some people call it intuition. Some people call it spirit, right? But your inner brilliance is always the medicine, the elixir for you. You just have to not be succumb to all the noise around you so much where you stop being able to hear your higher truth. And that is the work, right? Like, that is the work of being able to start with something as small as a body scan, just sitting with yourself, whether you're walking, you know, moving, laying in the bed, but saying from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, how do I feel? And really listening. Okay, how does my eyebrows feel? Are they tense? Are they high? Or am I holding them up? Okay, what about behind my eyes? Okay, how do my ears feel? Can I actually hear? Does something feel clogged? Do I feel water going down to your throat when I swallow? Does it feel natural? Does it feel like it's getting stuck? Like really talking through to yourself. You can do this, what we call in your mind's eye. So you're not verbally out loud saying it, but to yourself, with yourself privately. Some people can do this while they're operating like a car and driving. I don't recommend it because you're focused on being safe, hopefully, right? But for most people, you can walk or lay. Some people like to do this when their body has had a physical release, like after an orgasm or after some version of sexual release. Because for most of us who have experienced it, and I'm assuming all your listeners are of a certain age, you know how you're like a floppy fish after, right? Like you're super like loose and you're not tense. That's a great state to ask yourself, how do I feel? Because you've already released some of the superficial tension. For many of our clients, we suggest going for a walk in sunlight, get some vitamin D. Now, you may or may not be like Andressa and listen to a podcast or a song or something. You may actually, in this moment of kind of recalibrating with yourself, not listen to anything but the nature that's around you. I never noticed there were so many birds in this neighborhood. Oh my God, there's squirrels rustling in the bush over there. I didn't even know, right? Like just paying attention. It's literally called natural EMDR, which is almost like a tool for working through some trauma that you haven't been able to bring forward in your visual conscious. And if you allow yourself to let your eyes flow, follow the bird, follow the squirrel, follow the rustle of the leaf, look at the flower while you're still in movement, you're literally giving yourself natural therapy on so many ways. And even if you can't consciously say, okay, I've let go that energy vampire or that energy zamper, you're getting yourself into a space where you're regulating your nervous system enough. So now you can hear it. You can hear your truth and you can come into a space where maybe your body doesn't yawn, but maybe you start to notice that if I hold my hand out, I have a little bit of a tremor. There's a little bit of a tremor when I'm with this person. So something you do might be like, let me just go get a glass of water and check. And the water will tell you, because water is also very healing, but water has its own magical properties. And you can just look. I'm listening to Tina and she's talking and I'm watching my water while I'm sipping, like that's shaking a lot. You know, what's going on? And I'm looking at what's happening with my body. So sometimes the movements, the energy, the feeling that you have in your body is so subtle that you wouldn't be able to be in a space where Andressa is, where she's like, listen, I'm yawning so much. I need to, take a moment and walk out. It might be just a little tremor, just a little something. For many women, we feel it in our bellies and our hips. If your hips feel tight and you feel like I need to get up or to stretch, or I have an ache or soreness that kind of feels like if you've ever had ovulation pain. So it's not necessarily full menses pain, but just like a little tinge of something. Many times it's because of who's in your environment. Was that helpful?
It was, and it makes so much sense because when I come from conferences and different things, I have this need, like I would say not need, but a crave of pull the weeds in my backyard and front yard, barefoot and not wearing any gloves or anything, and really being outside and just like observing everything. Like I crave that. I literally crave that. And that is like a moment to myself, which makes sense to what you're saying, that all the relationships start with the relationship that I have with myself, right? Which leads to one sentence that you said about intentionally selfish, that you said that is a way for us to take care of ourselves. That's an expression of self-care. So let's dissect that a little bit, because the word selfish has a negative connotation that is far from self-care. So let's dive deep a little bit into that.
Yeah, one of the things that makes me smile when I still hear people say like, oh, selfish, I could never be selfish. I was raised, to be the opposite of that, which was definitely something that I said as well. I grew up in very religious and dysfunctional homes. Like, let's not separate that out. But I was not raised to be selfish. I was raised to be so selfless that I had to be quiet about abuse, to be quiet about the dysfunction of what was happening, to be quiet about being able to be in a space of advocating for myself. Like, I didn't get in trouble for doing some of the, bad quote unquote things that kids do. I got in trouble for speaking up. I got in trouble for giving eye contact. I got called stupid in the morning for like breakfast. Like, that was just normal. So I could have easily said, oh, but I have to be a good girl. I can't be selfish. And until I learned to give myself that intimate personal space, which is really the spaciousness to create joy your way. And it's how I define intentionally selfish behavior. Until I learned to do that, I couldn't see me. I couldn't hear me. I couldn't acknowledge my truth because all I heard was the noise from what other people said, including the people who were supposed to be safe around me, of what I was supposed to be, do, and become. And most of that was negative language. And I know that's not everyone's story. That just happens to be mine. But in knowing that the very first time that I was intentionally selfish, I physically saved my own life, you couldn't convince me that it wasn't a specific place for that as part of the remedy for my growth and my expansion. So as I dug into it more, I did learn that the word selfish comes from patriarchal timing to literally keep women small. There was a time when you said woman was a small thing and a negative thing. And now we're like, women power, let's go queen, right? Like, now we're in this very different space because we gave ourselves permission to redefine it, to redefine what it means to be a powerful woman, owning her own portfolio, to be a woman that can start her own real estate business and work and network with other women, other queens. We've redefined it. And it's the same thing that I've done with being intentionally selfish, is redefine, what does that mean for me? That doesn't mean be in my ego or push people down or make them feel small, but it does mean that my self-care is intentionally selfish. I don't have to share it with a girlfriend who's in town. It is my time to sit on the couch and wiggle my toes or have a bath or sit with me, to cry snot tears and not care about, who's looking at me, to dance like nobody's looking. Like, that is my time to really be embodied in who I am and see me as very different than I did 6 months ago or 6 days ago.
And it's a process, Naketa, everything you're saying. And I just want to circle back and I'd love to hear how everyone listening can connect with you further. But you said connecting with your inner brilliance, meaning everyone listening has an inner brilliance. We don't create the space on a weekly basis, daily basis, monthly basis to just listen to ourselves and get connected to ourselves. And I think that's the piece that all of this will continue to, that's the piece that encourages this process. And it's a multi-layered process. But if you're not spending time with yourself, it's really hard to be mindful of energy vampires and who should be in the kitchen and who shouldn't be, right? So to make sure everyone listening, create that space for yourself, even on a weekly basis. I call it like Liz time. And that's hard because I want to be helping people most of the time, but I know I need that so I can be clear on what does she need this week? So Naketa, this has been awesome. Where can everyone listening learn more about you?
Yeah, the best place is just to go to our parent company site, which is thigpro.com, THIGPRO, little play off my name, and everything you need from the Balance Boldly podcast to the Lazy Overachiever podcast and everything in between is there.
Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.